We're shaping up for a busy sitting fortnight here in Canberra. Joining us live is Nationals MP Keith Pitt to talk about politics of the day. Thanks for your time, Keith.
Great to be with you.
But before we get to politics, there are some pretty serious bushfires, as we heard just before, in Queensland. Do you think, is this a sign that climate change is coming to hit the state?
Oh, look, I just don't think that's a debate to have whilst we've got firefighters and others out, particularly property owners, trying to defend their homes and properties. I saw Deb Frecklington's comments this morning that Queensland Labor had 1,000 less hazard reduction burns. I mean, fire's pretty straightforward. It's about how much fuel there is, ignition source and oxygen. That's what determines, and of course with the weather, given that it's very dry and there's substantial and significant winds. It's an incredibly challenging environment for them, and I know Scotty Buckholz has been very concerned about what's happening in his electorate. So I just think we need to put our thoughts to those individuals who are out there fighting these fires right now. I mean, we can have all the machinations afterwards. But
it's an easy argument, though, isn't it? If you say, oh, it's not appropriate to have this discussion during fires, that's when we're feeling the full brunt of fires and know just how dangerous they are. And then it seems like it is just kind of kicking the issue down the street.
Yeah, but I mean, as someone who got thrown out of the parliament for the only time because I said something inappropriate to one of the Greens who made a similar argument when we had people cleaning up from cyclones. I mean, these are real people. They've lost everything. They lose their houses, their businesses, their stock. And I know in the Queensland fires last year, there was a number of cases where individuals had applied for years to do hazard reduction burns without success. And then when there was a fire, they lost it all. I mean, it was a very common practice in terms of how you manage that fire. If you backburn early, the fire is slow, it's low heat. The wildlife have every opportunity to move and get out of the way, whereas a very large fire, a wildfire, incredibly hot, radiant heat, there's no chance. It wipes everything out. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But look, I wish them well and all the best in very difficult circumstances.
Absolutely. And we do know that the discussion that is kicking on, thanks to the Greens as well, has been about the cashless welfare card and the idea that people shouldn't have to be drug tested. Do you support this as a policy, the cashless welfare cards for drug testing for welfare recipients?
Absolutely. I mean, I have the biggest trial site at the moment inside my electorate between Bundaberg and Hervey Bay. There's almost 6,000 individuals. Ours is different to the other three in that we have a cohort which is aged 35 and under and on 4 different payments, whereas the other 3 trial sites are predominantly Indigenous communities where all payments are on the card. So it's an 80-20 split. 80% goes onto the debit card and 20% is provided as cash in a normal bank account. But I'd certainly dispute what's been said by a number of Labor MPs. This is a debit card, it works everywhere. The only thing you can't do is purchase alcohol and gambling products, and of course it restricts the amount of available cash to purchase illicit substances. And in my view, the trial is working. It's very early days in our electorate, but the feedback we've had has been very positive.
What do you make of Jackie Lambie's request that MPs put their money where their mouth is and subject themselves to drug tests? Would you do it?
I don't have an issue with that at all. I mean, it's part of my working life for 15 years. Every time you could go to a site which was heavy industry or construction or mining, you had to be able to offer yourself up for drug and alcohol testing. That was part of their safety processes. Every Australian that gets behind the wheel, I mean, it's just a normal part of everyday life. I don't have an issue with that at all. But Labor's proposition around the cashless welfare card is to do nothing. As a government, our proposition is to act and to make change. So I think doing nothing is the easy way out. But if we want to make change, and this is, I'll make no bones about it, this is a tough social policy. It is difficult but necessary. I know in the lead up to the rollout in my community, there was a lot of scare campaigns run, all of which have turned out to be complete nonsense, as we said they were at the time. The card works anywhere that a debit card works. It is only restricted for gambling, alcohol, and of course reduces that availability of cash for illicit substances. And if I've got kids being fed in my electorate because this card is in place and the information I have is we do, well, I'll fight for it every day.
And Jackie Lambie's demanding that the government, or that she won't support these union-busting measures unless John Setka stands down, or won't support blocking it. Do you think that John Setka is going to hear this message, or is this going to drag on?
I'm surprised. I mean, it's opposite ends of the country, but you've got Anthony Albanese, the leader of the opposition for Labor in the federal parliament, calling for Setka to stand down, and in Queensland we have the CFMEU calling for Jackie Trad to stand down, the Deputy Premier. So, maybe they should get together and they could do a deal. We could get rid of both of them. But, bad Jackie Trad. It seems in Queensland, to lose your Labor ministry, what you have to do is not pay your rates I mean, we had Leanne Donaldson, a former agriculture minister, one of the local state members in my area, who was sacked from the cabinet because she didn't pay the rates for a house. So, you know, is that the threshold test for Queensland Labor? I think they've got this wrong. I think the mob knows it.
Well, I don't think it's going away anytime soon, at least. Keith Pitt, thank you for your time.
That's great to be with you.